I actually already made a video on this, but I uploaded it as unlisted because after watching it, it seemed kind of grandiose and I didn't want to come off that way. Basically, I have analyzed Marcelito Pomoy's career and his YouTube channel and his Instagram and his dealings with these various shows that he's been on. And there's a few things that struck me as very strange. The first thing that struck me as strange is when I originally started looking at his content, he had 11 million views. He now has 12.1 million views. So it's gone up a little bit, which the reason why I thought that was strange, I have nearly as many views as him with zero promotion from anybody else other than myself. So I did a small bit of investigating, and it turns out almost every single video, except for one or two, that of Marcelito that have millions and millions of views, are on somebody else's channel, which means that that show is literally making thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, however much money, off of Marcelito. So I wanted to kind of take a look at why that is and how being on America's Got Talent helped him and at the same time threw him into a situation where he has to do something differently to maintain that level of popularity, maintain that level of fame, so to speak. Why am I even qualified to talk about this? Well, one, the obvious, my channel in views alone is pretty close to his, and I haven't been on any TV shows. Sort of qualifies me in some way. Two, I have played a ton of live shows in front of multiple audiences of all kinds. Ones that are loving and throwing bras at me, and ones that are screaming and throwing beer bottles at me. It is something that I know a lot about. I've been doing it for a while. The first thing that I want to talk about is his thumbnails. Now, when I was making my first video on him that I didn't publish, he actually changed this thumbnail on Heroes Welcome as I was recording the video. Looking at this YouTube channel, if this is his official channel, it is 100% because the thumbnails, hey look, what's right as I was saying that, changed this thumbnail. As he uploads more and more videos, I can see maybe this is something he needs to hear, or maybe this is something he needs to work on. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, it's an old English term from the late 1300s, I believe. I believe it's pronounced clickbait, because a lot of it is pretty much the exact same content as his viral videos, but they get nowhere near the views. And I think the main reason for that is because of the thumbnail. If you analyze some of the thumbnails that are on Marcelito, wow, Marcelito Pomoy sings the prayer with dual voices. America's Got Talent champions. Anybody who looked at this situation with even the slightest bit of knowledge is going to see that they didn't watch Marcelito because of America's Got Talent. They watched because of Marcelito. That beautiful thumbnail and that banger of a title. Sings the prayer with dual voices. You can't tell me that doesn't spark intrigue. And then look at the thumbnail. Look how well it's laid out. It's all blue. It's all one scheme. You know, it's zoomed into his face, so there's relatability. So, you know, you're clicking on a person, you see this person. Your brain processes all this information at one time. Everything sticks together. It all makes sense. The title creates a little bit of intrigue. So you click on it. It seems very basic and very simple, but I can tell you from experience, it is something that is very hard to recreate. I'll make a clicky thumbnail. Like, it's not that simple. These thumbnails, a lot of them, they're just frames from his show or from whatever it is that he's doing. Like this one right here, hospitalized after AGT, the face close up, that's actually a pretty decent thumbnail. I like this thumbnail. This one right here was basically the same thing as this before he changed the thumbnail. He changed the thumbnail to a closer up picture of him, and look how many more views it got. 126,000 to 13,000. Now, when I looked at these originally, they were about the same in views. When you scroll down his channel and you look at the progression of his videos over time, it sort of gets better over time as he goes on some shows. This is a pretty decent thumbnail because it's on a set, which is why it got more views. Now, like these 5, 6 in a row, for example, it looks like he's at a party of some kind. It didn't get a lot of views, considering he'd already been on a couple of TV shows, and with all of the traffic that would be driven from his performances on AGT. That's not because the videos aren't any good. It's not because they don't like Marcelito any more or less. It's because the thumbnails. If you watch one of these 6 videos, you've seen one, you've seen them all. because the thumbnails are exactly the same. The people who watched You Are My Song by Marcelito Pomoy, 98,000 of them, right? They may have been recommended one of these videos, but they literally just watched that exact video in their mind because it looks like the exact same thing. So they moved on, so they're moving on to the next thing. Because those are his older videos, right? And he's definitely gotten better at this. Now these are getting 100,000. This one got 2 million views because look at the thumbnail. Something is about to go down, right? That's what it looks like. Same here. This looks like a pretty cool, kind of hip. It's got some Chinese writing on it. So it got 400,000 views. The colors are all there. Everything lines up. Same thing here. Marcelito Pomoy saying Can't Help Falling in Love. The colors, everything looks interesting and it draws you in to want to see what it is. My point being in all of this is that Marcelito had a huge spike in views, total video views, right around the time AGT happened. It went from 2.5 million views in a week. Over the course of a few days, it took a nosedive. As anyone that's ever had a spike in viewership knows, what is just inevitably going to happen is you're going to spike and then it's going to come back down a bit, right? And then the quality of your thumbnails and of your video content is going to determine how many of those people actually stick around and where that peak stops and bottoms out at. And you now have a new base of views that are based on the quality of your videos and the quality of your thumbnails, the clickability. Where I think Marcelito really needs to focus his attentions is, yes, on doing the shows and all of that, on creating brighter, crisper, clearer, more clickable thumbnails. Something that is going to pull people in to click on his channel. Because going out and doing all of these shows and appearing on all of these channels and getting millions of views on other people's channels isn't bringing any money into him. That's why we see Marcelito singing at weddings and birthdays and stuff like that, right? Because they're paying him to do it. He's not just doing it for fun. Obviously, they're paying him to do it. And he is a global celebrity at this point. Really, all he has to do, I mean, from where I'm standing, all he really has to do is create some really good clickable thumbnails. Just make sure the content that's in the videos is watchable all the way through. If he's singing a song or performing something like that, then that's going to be watchable all the way through because he has a great voice. So it'll be easy to retain the viewer for him. Getting them to click on it in the first place is what really needs the most attention, in my opinion. Now, how can he do that, right? I mean, obviously, look at my channel. You can see I've had quite a few misses over the past year and a half. I've only had this channel for like a year and a half. All right, I'm at like 70,000 subscribers now, and I'm literally just figuring this out as I go. But hopefully some of the things that I've learned along the way and some of the experiences that I've had can translate in some way to be able to help somebody like Marcelito Pomoy. More clickable thumbnails. What sort of stuff should he be looking for, and how should he make his titles and his thumbnails as good as possible? How can he do that? The very first thing that we need to understand is what pops up when you search Marcelito Pomoy. America's Got Talent and their beautiful thumbnails. A bunch of reaction channels that feature their faces up close, crisp and clear. You have the Simon Hate videos, which I've never made any of. And more Marcelito videos featuring his face close up to the camera so they can see him in action. Talent recap, 10 million views. Look at this thumbnail. Right in the face, crisp and clear. Obviously, that's a picture that they took from something else because Talent Recap literally just re-uploads other people's content and then maybe they give their opinion halfway through. It's not their content themselves, it's the content that they've uploaded from somebody else that's getting, but the thumbnail is what is getting them the click. This very first thumbnail that went viral of Marcelito's. This is somebody that re-uploaded it and it got 2.3 million views, but look at this thumbnail. Crisp, clear, clean. Everything looks in order and place. You know he's singing because look at the thumbnail. It just makes you want to click it because it looks clickable. Now, second, we need to find somebody who has thumbnails that are successful, that does the same thing that he does, that's in the same space as him, that is something that he himself can remake in his own style, draw inspiration from, or even copy exactly if that's what you want to do. But something that's proven to work, something we already know works, and it's obvious that it works. Luckily, I know just the person. Dimsa. No, not Dimsa. Dimash. Dimash, this is what pops up when we see Dimash. It's basically the same sort of stuff as him, but the biggest difference is Dimash's channel actually pops up. Beautiful thumbnails. Background is interesting. The foreground is interesting. The positioning, the posing, everything about this thumbnail, if you like music and you like Dimash especially, they look professionally done. And they may not be. A lot of these are literally just snapshots or pictures from one of his live shows. That would be my biggest tip for Marcelito. I've watched pretty much every single video on his channel. His content's not really so much an issue because it's a YouTube channel. You know, it's sort of like a glimpse into his life and the things that he does. If anything, I'd say the camera quality can be a little bit better, a little steadier. Maybe the sound quality is a big one for me. But most importantly, the thumbnails and the titles need quite a bit of tweaking. I'm not trying to dog him and say that, you know, he's not doing a good job or anything. It's just one of those things that you learn over time, and not really very many people can teach it to you. It's almost something that you have to learn on your own, by your own trial and error. What I have done in the past and what I know works for others is to analyze other people's content and thumbnails that are working and that is very obvious that it's working, and use that for inspiration or just mimic it. I'm not saying be a copycat. I'm just saying, you know, this works, so do that because it works. Marcelito throws water bottle at fan, you know? Okay, that would be my video. That wouldn't be his. Marcelito's never hit this note before. And a picture of him hitting the note. Something that sparks intrigue, something that is going to get people to click. Because the amount of views that he is getting on his channel compared to how much he gets on other people's channel, it can't be a coincidence. Hopefully Marcelito takes note of these things, and this is all stuff he can do himself to experiment a little and go out of his comfort zone and try to emulate what these big channels that are getting lots of views on him are doing. Like, you literally already have a blueprint. All these people that put successful videos up on you, just do what they do and you'll be golden. Hopefully none of that comes off as grandiose or know-it-all. I would really just like to see him further his career and like to see that baseline stop higher rather than lower. There's always that curse of people that go on America's Got Talent and, you know, different talent shows, that they have this rise in viewership and spike in fame, and then 2 months later it's over. And since Marcelito's going to be pretty much 2 hours from me in like 3 months, I want him to stick around for a while, at least until I go to see his show. And maybe if it is helpful and you do watch this, Marcelito, maybe you can give me a backstage pass. If you do, I'll make a thumbnail for you. Just saying. That's a wrap.